So these guys threw me a curve just before we came out here, and I've never cried at these things before, but as we were getting ready to come out, they gave me this really wonderful photo album from our Ashland trip, and thank you very, very much. So if I lose it in the middle of this, you'll hopefully understand why. Everyone turned their cell phones off, right? Except for those of you who are filming. All right. One of the really cool things about teaching is that every year we get to start out fresh with a new class of students. In essence, every 8th grade class is like a set of fingerprints. Every single one is unique. Each class has its own strengths, its challenges, and of course, its own quirks. You can't teach 8th grade without experiencing at least a little bit of quirky behavior. Each class establishes its own identity, its own personality, and in doing so, creates its own set of special memories. And of course, these guys sitting in front of you are no exception. First of all, this will be the last class to have students who were actually here from the old Fremont days. Why don't you guys who were here from the beginning stand up for a second. Oh, wow. Give them a round of applause. All right, you can sit now. They'll also be the last class to be promoted in the pre-restoration history of the Santa Rosa Charter School of the Arts. And the only downside to that is, sorry guys, you won't be around when this place actually joins the 21st century. Another thing that's unique about this class is it is the first time in my memory that students actually requested to read ahead in a textbook, in their history textbook, and actually asked to cover things that we didn't have time to cover. So I'd like to acknowledge Howard Zinn, who wrote the book that we were using, and it was a very, very cool thing. So, and of course, this class also carried on some great traditions. We won the canned food drive, which is becoming an 8th grade tradition, and which is really cool because not only do we get this really neat trophy, but we serve the community, and that's really important. These guys really took that to heart. They created these magnificent chairs that they are sitting on, which has also turned out to be a tradition. I'd like to thank Amber Fox for making it happen this year. And then, of course, there's that annual trek up to Ashland for the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, which I hope those of you who went, I hope it's an experience you will never forget. So, now you're ready to move on to new challenges and opportunities. It's a mixed up, muddled up, shook up world you guys are facing, and your long, strange trip is just beginning. There's a lot of questions about our future that you will have to answer. Questions like, will we have enough water to drink? Will our species survive an ever-changing environment? Will you ever live in a time where we're not engaged in military conflict? Who will be the next big thing after One Direction fades off into obscurity? And will you even care? And lastly, which is it? To New York or by bus? Pretty heavy stuff when you think about it. Not to put any pressure on you guys, but it will be you who will be left to provide creative answers to these questions and the solutions to the problems therein. It's your turn to go out into the real world and leave your marks upon it. And I have the utmost faith that you will help make this world a better, happier, and more productive place for all of us. In In history, you learn to question elements of our past, to question sources of information, to question authority outside of your parents, of course, and to seek your own solutions and your own truth. Never stop seeking answers to your questions, but be prepared if the answers might not exactly be what you expected. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You can't learn without them. Be the change you want to see in the world. I've said many times that life can be reduced to a series of choices, from whether to color your hair purple or orange, whether to buy a Shelby Cobra or a VW bus, to vote Democratic or Republican, to become a journalist or a doctor or a chef. You get the picture. You guys, they're going to be reading some quotes to you in just a little bit, and in acknowledging the choices motif, for my last admonition to you, I have a quote that I'm going to share. And it is simply this: when you come to a fork in the road, take it. Thank you, Yogi Berra. Thank you, parents, because without you, there wouldn't be them. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Mr. Gaudreau. Thank you, office folks. Thank you, colleagues. And lastly, mahalo to you guys for reminding me how lucky I am to be a teacher. Thanks.